Hi. Sometimes this room has a lot of clothes in it because it gets really warm, so I'm kind of surrounded by clothes. You don't know that. You can't see anything. In this video, we're talking about the wonderful world of physical media. We all love it, except for some people, and those people are directors. Directors are no, wait, we like directors sometimes. I want to talk about films and other releases by directors that don't like or don't completely approve of those films. Specifically, my key reference, for obvious reasons, Michael Mann's The Keep. One of the few times I will happily, gladly buy a DVD copy of a film, despite so many little details. Actually, a pretty decent release from Viavision. If you ever want to get this release, I believe it's all regions. You know, it does not stipulate. It's kind of annoying. But it does come with a special feature. Do you want to know what it is? It's an original trailer. Yeah. So, this is an interesting film. This and, say, something like Dune, the David Lynch version, are such contrast films because of releases in terms of physical media releases. The Keep, that DVD is the best you'll ever get. You'll never get a HD version of The Keep. You'll never get a extended director's cut or anything imaginable because they don't exist. I actually know that version of The Keep that I have on DVD is from a 720p scan, because that's the highest quality that he ever let anyone make, which is crazy. I happen to have recently met the guy who runs, he's the creative director for Imprint, and he told me a bunch about The Keep. For certain reasons, I'm not going to stipulate a bunch of stuff, just in case, legalities and whatnot, but at least from what I can bear is common knowledge on the internet, I kind of wanted to talk about it as a topic of discussion of, can directors' sway be a lot and say too much about a physical media release? The Keep in particular is a really interesting one because, again, it is a film that Michael Mann as a director dislikes. He disapproves of. His theatrical cut is just it. It's all that they could make. That's what it is. Whether or not actual extra footage exists, we'll never know. So despite what anyone could potentially say, including Mann himself, it's never going to happen. We're never going to get a fully realized, perfect vision of the film, and this is what you're going to get. And to be fair, I still like the film for what it is. It very much feels like man, this film's going great. We're an hour in, things are really getting heated, and then it skips almost what feels like an hour of runtime in just 2 minutes of a montage, and bam, we're in the final act, and it's like, where did that go? What happened? We've just lost the film. What happened? And it's still beautifully shot, has a wonderful soundtrack, a wonderful score, and the DVD does well enough justice for the visuals. Obviously, yeah, sure, as a physical media fan, as a Michael Mann fan, I'd love to see a higher quality version, even an extended version, none of which will ever see the light of day. But in contrast, we have Dune. This is the David Lynch version. Do I want to go grab it? I want to go grab it. I've actually got two releases for the film. I have the actual old Viavision release, which isn't too bad, but I do have the Arrow Video 4K, which is actually a really nice release. But it, again, because of licensing and stuff, has some quirks with it that make it an imperfect set for anyone who's a huge fan of the film. Me personally, I just want to see a really nice 4K scan that's on a UHD disc, and lo and behold, that's what you get, at least from the limited edition version, with booklets and a bunch of stuff. Look at all that. That's a chunky-ass book. It's a really nice set. It's an okay film. The thing with it is that there are other releases that exist. There's a German release, and there's, again, Viavision in Australia. They re-released it with an extra disc. Now, the German release, from my knowledge, has 3 or 4 versions. Unofficial versions. Fan cuts. And those weren't approved for pretty much any other country. The Germans have such a way with physical media that they're able to put stuff on discs that no one else can, and it's kind of insane that they can do that. Cool, there's a lot of 4Ks that exist only in Germany, usually on media books. The only reason I was able to get the Swiss Army Man soundtrack was because I got the German media book. I can't read what the interview in the middle says, but I have the Blu-ray DVD combo set that has the soundtrack as on a separate disc. Obviously, compact disc. And It's pretty great. It's a wonderful soundtrack, wonderful score, and it really like adds to the movie if you've heard the actual score by itself, or just watch the movie. Wonderful movie. But Dune in Australia, their Via Vision release, which is still quite a nice release. I don't have it, but from what I've read about it and seen, it's a nice enough release, 1080p scan, that kind of stuff. But it comes with two factors that Arrow couldn't do. Firstly, it comes with the extended TV cut, despite not approved by David Lynch and of course being the Alan Smithy cut. It is an extended version, like 3 odd hours, a lot of exposition that's just fucking crammed into it. Apparently it's not great, but it's like watching a book being told to you in the most boring way possible. But I don't know if I'll ever watch it because I'm pretty content with the theatrical cut. Again, I think the film is fine. It's missing bits and pieces, but it is what it is. And I like David Lynch films, so I still appreciate it for what it's worth. Same as The Keep. They're very similar in that manner, aren't they? Just films that are just burdened by production errors and just all these non-final cut issues that become just a burden on the director, a stain on their career. Stuff that, sure, fans like myself might still dearly love, but mass populace would be like, it is what it is. And with Dune, at least, like again, the Via Vision release, it comes with that extra cut. But this Arrow video set doesn't. But also the Arrow set doesn't come with the Keep Seeker has awakened? Sleeper? The Sleeper has awakened. Of course, the Sleeper awakening. Duh. The Sleeper has awakened, which is like a documentary that talks about the film in quite a decent amount of length, which is not exclusive, but is on the Via Vision set, which is insane. It is, and realistically, should be enough of a reason for me to personally go out and buy that set. I just couldn't be bothered. I probably might eventually because, why not? Have the extra TV cut just for shits and gigs, and then also have this apparently really well done documentary, or at least one that was eagerly sought after by fans, and Arrow could not get the licensing for it by the time that they released the film. Is this video actually about licensing? Maybe. Can I legally say that? I don't know. I just know things. I don't need to credit sources. There. I'm not a journalist, it doesn't matter. But I want to talk about my opinion on it. That's what's not legally binding. I don't fucking know. It's an interesting situation to see directors who disapprove of films. It's not uncommon. Obviously, the name Alan Smithy is literally the name of directors who disapprove of their works, until I'm pretty sure there was either a guy actually called Alan Smithy, or someone pretended to be Alan Smithy to make a film about Alan Smithy making a film, and it, made it such a mind boggle that, the studios were just like, we are banning this name from ever existing, you have to own your cut no matter how shitty it is. Just blame the studios. Be honest and just say either you fucked up, or the studios did, or both. That's almost its own thing. But there's obviously, when it comes to DVDs, with Blu-rays, with 4Ks, with physical media, how can you get the best quality version of a film? And, arguably even that is ultimately subjective. The Keep might not be something that the director approves of, but the fans do. Sure, we prefer a higher quality format, but the DVD suffices to a degree. Dune, on the other hand, same. We get a great 4K release, which isn't a full version of the film, but it is a theatrical cut. It is what David Lynch approves of, and that's the version you should have. But you can also get the extended cut, or get the German edition, which has fan cuts available on the same disc, which is, again, an insane thing that they're able to release that. But then you look at films like really anything that has a director-approved seal, or a final cut, or a director's cut, or just some extra edition that's being released by the director. Say The Warriors, for example, the infamous director's cut, which added 4 extra minutes, which was just comic book panels crammed into the film. Apparently nobody really likes it. I only have it because I have the imprint set, which comes with both cuts. Have I seen the director's cut? No. Do I plan to watch it? No. I'm content with the theatrical cut. I've even got the Arrow Video 4K release coming in just so I can have a slightly better looking version, or probably a lot better looking version of the theatrical cut. I don't care about the director's cut. And there's so many films that are like that. You've got what's that? Donnie Darko as well. Classic example of, a film that has multiple cuts. Same as really actually any. Is it Richard Stanley, the guy who directed Donnie Darko? Most of his films have that element where it's like they have several cuts. There's Southland Tales, which our videos version has like the director's cut, the Cannes cut, and the theatrical cut, which is crazy because you also need to read like 3 volumes of a comic book to actually understand the whole movie, because this movie is the second half of a story. Which I haven't read those comics nor watched the film yet, and the Cannes cut is like 3 hours long. I don't know, it's a thing. But it comes to that element of the preference of what thing becomes available for mass marketing. This again comes down to stuff like Star Wars and stuff. Whenever the original creative mind comes to the film and is like, I want to change this because fuck you, but also I'm the artist, I can do whatever I want, but also fuck you, and fuck you. I don't care, I'm putting it all out in 4K. I hope you like CGI dinosaurs in A New Hope. It's a whole thing. We all know what it is. It's a staple of film since director's cuts were made available. Sure, it's made some great fixes and has added some great additions of films. Again, like Blade Runner, like arguably like Apocalypse Now, or actually, let's put it realistically, any director from the 70s who was really big in either the 70s or the 80s, most of them have come out with alternate cuts of their movies. But then at the same time, Michael Mann has done that several times as well. You look at, like, Thief, you look at Black Hat is I'd say a more infamous example because most of his films have director's cuts. But Black Hat, lately, from our video, got a 4K UHD release, and most people were disappointed because it was like, oh, it's just a theatrical cut. Nobody, like, it's fine, but where's the director's cut? That's what we really want. And they were able to push it and actually get that director's cut on a Blu-ray release, but they still were able to make a director's cut on a physical version, which is like, they were able to convince Michael Mann to actually do that, or whatever studio they had to argue with to get the actual rights to get the transfer. That's wonderful, I bought that for the exact same, for that reason. It comes with the director's cut. I really want to see the director's cut. The theatrical cut is fine, but I've heard that the director's cut is much better. I mean, in contrast to something like Miami Vice, which apparently the director's cut is kind of shit. So I now have both cuts anyway, and I've only ever seen the theatrical cut. And maybe I'll keep it that way. I don't know. I have all of these films, and arguably they all have, except for like Jericho Mile, because that doesn't have any release that I could get my hands on. But like, they all have director's cut usually, or director's definitive cut, pasted on it as if it's like, this is completely stamp of approval with Michael Mann, even if the movie doesn't actually look any different. But then you could go and look at something like a director approves transfer, something like anything from our video or Criterion or whomever that actually like really emphasizes that they go out of their way to get a director and or approved release from a producer or the cinematographer. That's usually the 3 people: the person who owns the print, the producer, or the director, or the cinematographer, because they shot it. They're like, this is how the movie should look, this is how this release should look. And it becomes a whole pickle when it comes to physical media, because you have so many options for some films as to what to get. What you're able to get in high quality, in low quality, in standard quality, whatever it might be. And it's a hell of a time for physical media to be able to have so many options. And this is revitalizing so many films that you wouldn't expect. Something like Tammy and the T-Rex gets a 4K UHD from Vinegar Syndrome. But not just that, they've found the original unrated cut, which has all the blood and gore, which makes the movie, because you're like watching this film and you're like, this is amazing. This would be a piece of shit without these effects. It still isn't a great film in the cinema, of Citizen Kane quality, but it is something special because you have these effects, these extra stuff put back into the original cut. It's a strange goddamn world. Even something like Tourist Trap has an uncut version, and it doesn't add any gore. It just adds a few scenes of dialogue, and you're like, why was it taken out? The original director doesn't know. That's just how it is. But at least we have a physical version to replicate the original uncut, untouched vision. Isn't that great? So as a moral to this story, there's a lot of tricks and pulls that you got to do when it comes to making physical media as much as collecting physical media. Me as the consumer has to look out and find the right version, the one that's either approved by the director, has the best special features, the best picture. Try to find which one's the best one, even if it happens to be an old DVD for like getting all the special features, because they're usually just, archival stuff put onto a Blu-ray, if at all. Cough, cough, anything Disney. But at the same time, sometimes you can find a release that's so perfect, the perfect picture, the perfect audio, the perfect everything, and then eventually something else comes out about it and you realize that's not actually the perfect complete release, but it'll do, Like you get the complete series of the Scream films. What's that? They're making more shit. Same as like Indiana Jones or whatever, but that's a whole different tangent of franchising and stuff. But yeah, so it's a hell of a time to be alive for physical media, to actually have these debates and discussions of, do you want the theatrical cut, do you want the director's cut, do you want the extended cut, do you want the final cut. Then there's, do you want the 4K UHD, which has a whole new color timing and completely maybe DNR'd, or looks so superfluous and beautiful, but it doesn't look like when I saw it in the cinema 30 years ago, so it must be wrong. If the creative intent is behind it, is that not enough? If the original director, producer, cinematographer, whomever, has the approval, stamping that baby, letting it go out into the wild, then sure. Maybe if you don't like that release, you've seen it, you're like, man, Terminator 2 on 4K looks like absolute trash. I'm going to go out of my way to find the better release, which, lo and behold, is the Skynet edition. 3 different cuts, bunch of special features, least DNR applied to the actual print. Amazing picture, Sometimes in the end, it's all about you as the consumer as much as it is about the people making these releases. They have to put a leg and an arm to get prints, to get the special features, to get all the extra details, all the nitty-gritty stuff, because everything has to be licensed, and it's a lot of stuff for them to do, and then for us as the consumers to be that final decision of, you've put in all this work, but this guy over here has a better transfer, so by local release, I'm going to import from over there. I make it sound like that's a bad thing. It is a bad thing, but I do it as well. I import from the US and the UK when I could be getting local releases, but sometimes I still get the local releases anyway, because, sometimes they put in the effort and there's some great special features. So again, hence why maybe I might get the Viavision release of Dune, because it is a pretty damn decent release. Sure, it's not a 4K UHD, but it does have the extra documentary and the secondary cut, the TV cut. So, and it's a nice packaging. So, the options are always there. So always be on the lookout, do your research, and good luck, everyone involved. Maybe one day, Michael Mann will die, and we'll get the HD print of The Keep. Man, that's a bit of a sour note to touch this on. Support any form of physical media you possibly can, and hope to God that you're at least happy with what you have. I'm happy with what I have. That's kind of how you have to live sometimes. Be happy with what you got, and enjoy it while it lasts. I'm all full of laughs today, aren't I? Anyway, bye. Thanks for watching. See you kids next time.